In the spring of 325 AD, bishops across the Roman Empire received an unusual summons. The Emperor Constantine, not a bishop, not a priest, not even baptized, was calling a council. Travel would be provided at imperial expense, lodging arranged, food supplied. The roads of the empire would be made safe. The destination was Nicaea, a city chosen for its proximity to the imperial palace, its accessibility by road, and its distance from any single bishop's home territory. More than 300 bishops answered the call. Some traveled for months, across deserts and mountain passes. One, Paphnutius of Egypt, arrived missing an eye and walking with a permanent limp. His body still bore the marks of persecution under the previous emperor. He had been tortured for his faith. Now, he was summoned to define it. They gathered in the great hall of Constantine's palace, and on the day the council formally opened, Constantine himself entered. He wore purple and gold. He did not sit in a lesser chair. According to the historian Eusebius, the bishops rose in his presence and did not sit until he gestured for them to do so. Constantine was not baptized. He still held the title Pontifex Maximus, chief priest of Rome's traditional pagan cults. He had legalized Christianity only 12 years earlier, but he sat among the bishops and joined their deliberations. He did not vote. He did not need to. His presence made clear what was at stake. This council would not merely settle a theological dispute. It would determine what the empire's new religion actually believed, and whatever was decided in this room would be enforced with imperial power. The question that brought them to Nicaea sounds abstract. Was Jesus Christ of the same essence as God the Father, eternal, uncreated, fully divine, or was Christ created by God, the first and greatest of all creation, but a creation nonetheless? To modern ears, this can sound like semantic hair-splitting. To 4th century Christians, it was everything. If Christ was created, then he was not fully God. Worshipping him as God was idolatry. The prayers, the hymns, the entire structure of Christian worship would be a catastrophic error. If Christ was of the same essence as the Father, then God was somehow both singular and multiple, a mystery that required precision or risked collapsing into polytheism. A priest named Arius had been preaching the first position in Alexandria. Christ was created. There was a time when he was not. God the Father alone was truly eternal. Christ was exalted, divine, in a secondary sense, but not equal. Arius was charismatic, articulate. He wrote theology in the form of hymns and popular songs. Sailors sang them in the harbor. Dock workers hummed them in the streets. His ideas spread like fire through dry grass. His bishop, Alexander of Alexandria, condemned him. Arius was expelled from the city, but Arius had allies. Eusebius of Nicaea, one of the most influential bishops in the Eastern Empire, supported him. Other bishops across Syria and Asia Minor agreed. The church Constantine had just elevated was tearing itself apart. Letters flew between cities. Local councils convened and reached contradictory conclusions. Bishops excommunicated one another across provincial lines. Constantine had not legalized Christianity to inherit chaos. The empire needed religious unity. A divided church meant divided loyalty. Disputed doctrine meant disputed authority. So Constantine did what emperors do. He intervened. Participation at Nicaea was not open. Only bishops were invited, and only bishops in good standing, recognized by the institutional church, ordained through proper channels, not self-appointed, not locally schismatic. This was already a filter. The 300 who gathered represented the church's existing administrative structure, not its full diversity of belief. The Eastern Empire dominated. Greek speakers far outnumbered Latin speakers. The Bishop of Rome sent 2 priests as representatives, but did not attend himself. The bishops were not equals. Some controlled wealthy urban sees. Alexandria, Antioch, Caesarea, they commanded staffs, libraries, resources, and political connections, built over generations. Others oversaw small rural communities. They traveled alone. They had no influence beyond their presence. And behind the bishops stood the imperial apparatus. Constantine's officials managed logistics. Imperial notaries recorded proceedings. The emperor's preferences were known, not through decree, but through access. Who dined at the palace and who did not. This was not a neutral forum. It was a managed process. Councils did not vote like modern legislatures. There were no secret ballots, no recorded roll calls, no minority reports. The goal was consensus. But consensus, in a particular sense, debate was public. Arguments were stated, attacked, refined, and repeated, and throughout, pressure was applied. Bishops with unpopular positions were isolated. Allies were lobbied privately. Patrons were reminded of imperial priorities. Opposition narrowed, not through persuasion alone, but through exhaustion. When agreement was declared, it often reflected sustainability, not unanimity. At Nicaea, Arius was allowed to speak. Then his position was systematically dismantled. Athanasius, a young deacon from Alexandria, not yet 30, not yet a bishop, led the assault. He argued that if Christ was created, Christ could not save humanity. Only God could bridge the infinite gap between divine and mortal. If Arius was right, Christianity's promise was empty. The argument was theological, but its power was existential. Every bishop in that room had staked his life on the claim that Christ saved. Arius's position implied that stake was misplaced. The debate lasted weeks. By the end, Arius's position was rejected by an overwhelming majority. The council produced a creed. It declared that Christ was of one substance with the Father. The Greek word was homoousios, one essence, not similar, not analogous, identical. The creed was not spontaneous. It was drafted, revised, and refined, each phrase chosen to exclude specific positions. Ambiguity was the enemy. Every clause closed a loophole. When the creed was finalized, bishops were asked to sign. This was not optional. Most signed. Arius did not. He was condemned, exiled, his writings ordered burned. Possession of his work became a crime. 2 bishops who refused to sign were exiled alongside him. Within 3 years, they returned. Politics shifted. Athanasius himself was exiled 5 times, under 4 emperors. He survived only because he outlasted everyone trying to destroy him. Council decisions were not permanent. They were temporary equilibria. Nicaea did not end dispute. It created a template. When disagreement escalated, a council was convened. Constantinople, Ephesus, Chalcedon, each produced definitions. Each produced fractures. What councils achieved was not unity. It was boundary drawing. Who was in, who was out, and that was enough. Creeds were not meant to inspire. They were meant to exclude. They used technical language, philosophical terms, precise definitions, short enough to memorize, clear enough to test. Canons followed, rules about behavior, jurisdiction, marriage, discipline. None were eternal truths. They were administrative housekeeping, but they carried the same authority. To violate a canon was to violate the council. To violate the council was to exit the system. This structure was not unique. Judaism developed scholarly consensus after the temple fell. Islam developed ijma, binding scholarly agreement. Buddhism convened councils to define canon and discipline. Different beliefs, different authority models, same problem. When belief scales, institutions need procedure. Councils, in many forms, were the answer. Councils stabilized belief. They also froze it. Once a council spoke, revision became dangerous. Old canons were ignored, not repealed. Silence replaced correction. This is the cost of collective authority. Stability at the expense of adaptability. In 325, 300 bishops signed a creed. They did not all agree. Some signed under pressure. Some signed to survive. But the document endured. It is still recited today, across continents, across centuries, not because it was perfect, but because it was written, signed, enforced, and carried forward by institutions that outlived empires. Councils were never moments of revelation. They were moments of decision. And once belief entered the council chamber, it rarely emerged unchanged.